Today is the 1-year anniversary of the HoloLive official card game English edition. The game first released on July 11th, 2025 with the Blooming Radiance expansion. And to celebrate 1 whole year of HoloLive official card game, I'm going to be opening 1 booster box from every expansion released so far in English. That is 6 total expansions over the span of 1 year. How do y'all feel about that 2-month release cadence? You loving it? As we go through these booster boxes, I'll talk a little bit about the meta, the history, some of the card changes that we've witnessed over the last year, a little bit of a trip down memory lane, and hopefully we'll get some cool hits. If anything, it'll just be fun to look at the cards from each expansion again, just going one by one. I've been looking forward to doing this for a while. These are just single random booster boxes. I have no idea what's in these. We will of course be going from Blooming Radiance to Quintet Spectrum to Elite Spark to Curious Universe to Enchant Regalia and Ayakashi Vermilion. These expansions go from July 2025 to July 2026. The game first released in Japan in 2024 on September 20th. 10 months later is when we got the English edition of the game. I first got my hands on it at Anime Expo, and I made the channel just a couple days before the official release date. So it's kind of fun that my YouTube anniversary is around the same time as the game's anniversary. And of course, as I said, we will be starting with Blooming Radiance, the very first expansion in the beloved HoloLive official card game. Let's go ahead and open this up. There are actually a lot of differences since this first came out. So in Blooming Radiance, there's only 2 sec rare cards, the 2 signatures. We have Kiara and Suisei, and that's it, just those 2. I was lucky enough to pull the Suisei one in my very first booster box. Maybe we'll get another, or maybe I'll get the Kiara sign. That would be awesome. I'd love to complete that set. This was also before the OURs got the really cool gold treatment. Same with the URs, they didn't have the gold treatment back then. We're also missing an entire rarity with the HRs, which came much later, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. For every booster box, I've decided to commit to starting on the right side of each box, so we'll work our way starting with the right pack and then alternating each one until we get to the very bottom. That's how I'm going to do it for every single one. Let's see if we get that first pack luck. Now, I believe it's still about the same ratios from the first booster box, and now we should be seeing 1 SR, likely 1 S. If not 1 S, I think it's 2 double R cards. We may see an OUR or a UR if we're lucky. Let's see what we hit. And right away we are seeing the second Bloom Kanata. If you remember, the very first expansion, Kanata and Promise were the strongest 2 decks in the format. This card was so good. This card got limited so that you could only run 1 copy. Recently, it's been unrestricted, so now you can run 4 of these again, but for a long time in the English edition of the game, you could only run 1 copy of this because it was just way too strong in the initial formats of the game. HoloMem in general had lower HP for their debuts, so it was really easy for Kanata to go over the HP threshold to get the extra life damage. What we're not seeing quite yet are the debuts that made that possible. There is a collab debut that also got restricted because it was just way too strong. You could do so much damage in the beginning of the game and basically get a turn 1 knockout against any other HoloMem. Ridiculous. First Buzz Aroha, this is seeing play right now in the Ayakashi Vermilion expansion. Still a great card. Aroha gets an Oshi card later. In the beginning, with Blooming Radiance, Aroha wasn't particularly strong, not enough support. But this card is relevant, and it does become a really strong card later on. So it's nice to see that a card from the very first expansion getting life breathed into it in a later expansion. Daki Aki. Oh, that just sounded gross. Like that was, it was kind of funny in my head, but saying it out loud, I feel like a degenerate. Let's not do that. Here is Mume, of course, one of the quintessential HoloMem for the Promise deck. This is just her regular debut card, but it's part of the Promise engine. Ooh, a white cheer. This is back when you could actually pull cheer cards from the booster boxes. I think they stopped doing this around Elite Spark because I remember Elite Spark introduced yellow cheer. It became really hard to get the yellow cheers without buying the start decks. So look at that. Here's a throwback to different time. Speaking of, when the game first came out, there's only 4 colors. There was white, green, red, and blue. Those are the only cheer color HoloMem that were available. Aha, the Spot Noel card. Man, HP of 90 for a spot card back then is absurd. But this is kind of an interesting card, actually. This still sees play occasionally, especially with Maureen decks. Because she has hashtag Gen 3, there's synergy there. The collab effect lets you accelerate cheer from the archive. Collab effect, you may send 1 cheer from your archive to your HoloMem. So it's still a strong effect, and it's kind of funny that this card has kind of persevered for such a long time from Blooming Radiance, despite spot cards generally being pretty bad and only having 90 HP is also not great. At the time, though, 90 HP was actually not bad because that was much higher than most debut at the time. So kind of an interesting change in design philosophy over time. Troop Member, of course, an iconic card, makes Polka extremely good. This also counts as cheer. This becomes a red cheer. They definitely start doing less cards like these where you get cheer. I think they realized how strong it was. No, no way! Wait, that's so sick. We look at that! Oh my god! We actually got an OUR in the first booster box. That is insane. And it's Pekora. Such a good Oshi card. This is a card that stays so relevant throughout the meta of the game. That's insane. I can't believe we pulled this. This is hilarious. Oh my god. I love it. That's a great pull. I knew this video was going to be a good idea. That is actually crazy. The OUR Pekora. So as I mentioned towards the beginning of the video, this is before they did the gold treatment on the OURs, but the art is still wonderful. The foil treatment is really nice on these. And as I said, Peko is just a really strong Oshi. 6 life, green Holomem. For only 2 holo power, if your Holomem is down during the opponent's turn, you reattach all green cheer from one of your down Holomem, divided as you choose to other Holomem. Even in Ayakashi Vermilion, besides just playing mono Peko, you can play this in what is affectionately called the Peko Slop deck, with the purple Corone and the blue Mori Calliopes because they have colorless cheer cost. And this doesn't specify what color Holomem is down. Any Holomem that's down, you get to reattach any of the green cheers across the board. And since all the art requirements for those Corone and Callies are colorless, you can just run all green cheer and run this Oshi, and you're constantly reattaching green cheer to whichever Holomem you want to be attacking. This is a fantastic card, and I'm really happy to have the OUR. And as to be expected of the first set, we're going to see a lot of iconic cards, So That Makes You My Enemy. This is a card that is basically going to be forever relevant unless they make a version of this that's even stronger. But you get to swap your opponent's center Holomem with one back Holomem. This is just a game-winning card. It's a staple for a reason, and this is when it was first introduced. Another solid card in the Promise engine. With this Mume, its collab effect is if your center Holomem has #Promise, you draw a card from your deck. Promise just kind of had everything. It had draw power, it had deck search, it had cheer acceleration. Just a crazy deck. Ame, we miss you. The only Amelia Watson card in the entirety of the HoloLive official card game. There is an S version of this, though, so technically I guess there's 2 Ame cards in the game. At least she got one at all. Suisei was honestly a great deck during Blooming Radiance as well, but it doesn't get as strong as it should be until later expansions. Promise and Kanata were still much more dominant, but Suisei was certainly playable. A blue cheer, look at that. I think we're going to get one of each color. We've gotten white and blue so far, so we just got to get that red and that green cheer. Let's go. Here is our S rare card of the box. We got a debut Louis. I don't know if any version of Louis decks play this debut. You know, whatever, I got the OUR Peko, so it's fine, but kind of funny. Oh, and here's the other piece of the Kanata engine. This is the debut that was restricted to 1 copy. Such an insane card. Its HP is incredibly low with only 60 HP, but this collab effect. During this turn, your center Holomem gets arts plus 10. Then if your center Holomem has #Gen4, your center Holomem gets arts plus 20. So you're just like turn 1 collabing with this. You're putting 1 cheer on your other debut Kanata. This Kanata only needs 1 cheer to do 20. It's so easy to just ramp that 1 turn and start spitting out tons of damage. Just a truly crazy time. No longer restricted though, so that shows you how much the power scaling has evolved. Ooh, Iris, it's Iris. Another staple card of the Promise engine. Hey, there's our red cheer. 1 more to go, baby. No. Wait, this box is sick. What the hell? This is the Peko box. We got the SR Second Bloom Peko. Let's go. I have a lot of friends that I think are going to be jealous of the pulls from this box. That is awesome. This is also a card that still sees play with Peko. There is the white Holomem Peko. That is an overall better card, but this one is still really strong and works well with the Peko deck as a whole to this day. Very exciting pull. This is awesome and hilarious. What an insane box. But these are going to be the big hits from this box. Unless there's a weird surprise like an OSR or something in here, this should be the last hit that we see. At the time, Peko wasn't particularly strong in Blooming Radiance, but over time she does get more support and becomes a really strong deck, really starting in Enchant Regalia. Her Oshi has pretty much stayed strong throughout the entirety of the metagame. It just paired with different Holomem, but Mono Peko really shines later on. The funniest thing about doing this video is like I've just had this Blooming Radiance box sitting in my room for basically a year. And I've just been sitting on an OUR Peko this whole time without knowing it. Here it is, the other card from Blooming Radiance that was restricted, and is still restricted to this day. This is the only HoloLive card that is currently restricted in the HoloLive official card game. They really overtuned this card. It's kind of funny how many cards from Blooming Radiance got restricted because it's so early in the game's life cycle, they were still learning things, but listen to this bloom effect. Again, it's a bloom effect, so you don't even need to take the risk of collabing to do this, it just happens on bloom. During this turn, your center Holomem and collab Holomem with hashtag promise gets arts plus 30. That's plus 60 arts overall if you have a collab position Holomem. And it doesn't specify once per turn or not, so you can just keep blooming this and getting insane arts boosts. This is a ridiculous card. Plus, it gets easily searched in the deck anyway. So when you have 4 of these, it's just absurd. They really did not know what they were doing when they printed this card. But you know, we live and we learn, and that's why this card is still restricted to this very day to 1 copy. I'm sorry, Iris, but you're just way too strong. I think there's maybe potential for this to get unrestricted later, but honestly, it's going to be a very, very, very long time, I think, just because more promise cards come out, and because this applies to anything with the hashtag promise, it just makes any new meta deck that's already strong even stronger. So it's hard to imagine, but maybe someday the power creep will be so insane that this card will be able to be back at 4 copies. And there it is, there's our green cheer. We got the whole set. And there you have it, these are our hits from the Blooming Radiance booster box. We got the OUR Peko, the SR Second Bloom Peko, and the S debut Takane Louis. We're off to a great start, so let's keep the good times rolling and move on to our next expansion, Quintet Spectrum. Quintet Spectrum released in English on October 17th, 2025, and originally released in Japan December 20th of 2024. Quintet Spectrum is, of course, the second expansion in the game. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what we find. So the biggest change really going from Blooming Radiance to Quintet Spectrum is that they introduced Purple Cheer, so now we will be seeing purple Holomem such as Mori Calliope. In the first expansion, Callie only had a spot card that never sees play, so this is really the first introduction of Callie as a Holomem as well. Explosion Magic is a really great event card that gets introduced in this set. You deal 20 special damage to your opponent's center or collab Holomem. You can only use 1 of these per turn, and if you down a Holomem with this card, you don't lose life, but it's a really great way to mess up your opponent's board and just get that little bit of extra damage you need for a knockout. So you do this first, ideally, then you use your arts so that you get the knockout without having to sacrifice not taking life damage from your opponent. Here we go, Tatang. Quintet Spectrum introduces Rene as a Holomem and an Oshi, and she becomes basically the best deck in format after the Blooming Radiance decks get hit with restrictions. Tatang actually got restricted in Japan to 1 copy. This never got hit in the English edition of the game, so to this day, and since the entirety of its release, you can run 4 copies of this card. This mascot card, when it's attached to a Holomem, gives arts plus 10, but if it's attached to Rene, it gives her plus 30 HP. So not only is Rene already doing a ton of damage, but she's also bulky as heck. Just a ridiculous deck. The Speak of the Devil here is the second Bloom Rene. Incredibly strong card, only needs 1 green cheer and then 3 colorless, which sounds like a lot, but you have so many ways to accelerate cheer with her cards. And then you have the Kobo Oshi that lets you get back cheer from the archive. And her arts gets plus 20 for every cheer color on your stage, and since purple's been introduced, there are now 5 different cheer colors. So if you have all the different colors, you can be doing 200, and then with Tatang, you're doing 210. If you're hitting white, which is hilarious because the top decks were white, so they really just like wanted to get rid of Promise and Kanata with this deck. It's doing plus 50 crit to white. And on Bloom, you reveal 1 cheer from your cheer deck and send it to your Holomem, then shuffle the cheer deck. So you're getting a free cheer anyway, so it's not even really like a 4 cheer cost. It's kind of just 3 because you're getting a free one anyway. Truly a crazy card, and Rene just remains really strong throughout the game. Definitely not overwhelmingly strong anymore as of Ayakashi Vermilion, but even in the previous expansion, Rene was still really good, and I think now is probably just like kind of still good, but definitely not the powerhouse she was when she first released. but this dominated the meta during Quintet Spectrum. Maureen is introduced as a holomem in the set, and if we don't hit her other cards, I'm just going to talk about it here. Maureen becomes a game-changing addition to the hololive card game. Her first bloom, you can only use once per turn, which they definitely learned from the Mume first bloom in Blooming Radiance to not make that mistake again, to be able to let it repeat. But even with that restriction, still a super good card. She could just search for more copies of herself. And then once you get the second bloom Maureen, when you bloom that one, if there's a stack of 3 holomem underneath her, then she does 50 damage to your opponent's center or collab holomem. And just from blooming her, you get a holomem back from your archive to add to hand. So it's basically like a retro PC for free, and not having the restriction of needing 3 or less life. And most importantly, the introduction of Narissa Ravencroft to the hololive official card game. This is actually a great card too. Narissa doesn't get more support until later, but this is a card you definitely run 4 copies of in her build. So this is a great addition to the game, and you know, just great to see her here. Chloe's also another crazy card that gets introduced. This particular Chloe, not so much, but later on, if we hit it, there's a first bloom Chloe that on bloom lets you grab a cheer from your cheer deck and just attach it to your holomem. Crazy strong card, and I'm kind of realizing between that and Maureen, how many staples came out of Quintet Spectrum as far as holomem go that you can just slap in other decks. Like, people be running Chloe in decks that aren't blue, people be running Maureen in decks that aren't red. They're both just really strong holomem that have really specific use cases that help the game. No! Quintet Spectrum also released my favorite card in the whole game, Mikaroni 24. Let's just put that over there. We don't need to talk about that. Oh, there's our debut Chloe. That's actually good. I'm glad I pulled one of these. That's great. The more the better. Ooh, here's our first hit. We've got the S Miteru. It works with Fubuki, but Fubuki's not particularly strong yet, so it's nice, but honestly not doing a whole lot as of now. And would you look at that, we also got the first bloom Chloe that I was just talking about. This is a great pack. I just got more Chloes that I can either trade or hold on to. That's free real estate, baby. I should also specify when I was talking about how the bloom effect works, it's you look at the top 3 cards of your cheer deck, and then you can attach them to your holomem however you want. Then you return the remaining cheer, shuffle the cheer deck, etc. Retro PC, we talked about it earlier, but this is a solid card, and it first is introduced in Quintet Spectrum. Whoa, okay, here's our SR of our box. We got Magical Girl Chloe. I don't think I have this one already, so that's pretty cool. I do love the art on the SR Magical Girls. The Magical Girl archetype is introduced in Quintet Spectrum, and it doesn't really do much of anything. I don't think any deck plays the Magical Girl cards. Maybe there's like one specific use case that I can't think of right now, but it's pretty art, and it's still a cool pull. I'll take it. And there's just the R rarity in the same pack, so you can see the significant difference in the art here. That's kind of funny. I think there's still potential for one more hit in this box, so we'll see what happens. Hey, there's our big hit. Let's go. Another one? Oh my god. I mean, yeah, I know this is valuable, but come on. Another big hit. Also, the second Bloom Narissa in the set is actually good. You only need to run a couple copies of it later on. At the time, you couldn't really just play Narissa. She wasn't particularly strong, but the collab effect is really good. It becomes useful to support your other Narissas. During this turn, your center holomem and collab holomem with hashtag singing gets arts plus 30. So you could also play this with Toa or other hashtag singing holomem. Pretty interesting card, and 210 is super tanky even now. Definitely an interesting card that does get play later on when Narissa becomes more relevant. Another big hit. Hey, we actually got the first Bloom Maureen. This is a pretty good box. We got the Chloes, we got the Maureen. This is a fantastic pull. Very happy about that. I'll take more of these. Whoa, okay. Awesome. We got our last hit. We got the special cheer card, the white cheer for Fubuki. I don't think I have this one, so that's pretty cool. This is also the set that introduces these cute chibi special cheer cards, so that's pretty awesome that we hit one here. Very nice. Oh.
Bruh.
Sorry, I got jump scared by this. That's crazy. And there's our purple cheer. Yay! We still get cheer cards in our booster boxes. And there are our hits from the Quintet Spectrum box. Honestly, not bad. We've got the Bloom Effect Maureen here that we really like. That can go in pretty much any deck, still relevant now. And we got the debut and first Bloom Chloes that we want. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this. Not like crazy big hits on the SR or the cheer, but I'm happy with it either way. These are cards I didn't already have, so that's a win in my book. Expansion number 3, Elite Spark. This set released in English on December 19th, 2025, and in Japan this released in February 2025. This was a fun set for me because Korone is introduced and I get to play my Korone cards. She wasn't particularly strong, but I did manage to win an entry cup with her, so we take those W's. Speaking of Korone, the big thing with Elite Spark is that hOCG is introduced as of this set, which puts us at our total cheer count for now. We don't get any new colors after Elite Spark. So that is kind of an interesting bookmark for this game where, as of set 3, we've really solidified what color holomem we're working with and what those archetypes look like and what those advantages, disadvantages look like for the most part. Let's start ripping packs. As of Elite Spark, we're still getting cheer. I think this stops in the next set as of Curious Universe, but we'll find out. Dual Monitor PC. This is like potential, the card. It's limited. You reveal 1 to 2 debut holomem with extra. This is made completely irrelevant by Friendly PC. Let's just move on from this card. And we've already got our hOCG. This is our second pack, but here's our introduction of the hOCG. Welcome to the game, Yellow. Elite Spark gives Peko this first Buzz card, which is ridiculous. It does 80 base damage, but it does more damage. If you use an ability that lets you roll a die, so it gets plus 40, you're doing 120 on a first bloom. Disgusting. This card is evil. Look at that. This is so funny. Every Elite Spark box I've opened, I've gotten this card. But this is a great card. This is what makes Kiara good. When she first released in Blooming Radiance, she wasn't doing a whole lot. You could play her with Polka, and it was a pretty solid deck, like not a bad deck, but Kiara just wasn't making huge impacts on the meta. But with this card, it makes her insanely good. 140 HP first bloom, and its bloom effect is you can reveal 1 to 4 Takanashi Kiara from your deck, and you may archive them and then shuffle the deck. That's just absurd. If you don't know, Kiara's whole thing is putting holomem in the archive and then doing stuff and increasing your arts based on how many holomem you have in the archive. Just gross. This and the new Suisei first bloom that comes out in this set is a huge game changer, and it makes these two decks relevant for a very long time. Basically, the meta becomes Reine, Kiara, and Suisei at this point in the game. Okay, we got an OSR. Not what we really want to see, but that's nice. We got the Luna OSR. She's new in this set. Not particularly meta relevant, but it is still a nice card nonetheless. There's Korone, our first Korone card. And this is a great one too. 200 HP on that first bloom. Still good to this day. What a great card. Oh, okay, we got a first bloom Roboco as our S. Our work on this is amazing. I mean, whatever is going on here is just absolutely insane. Not a really relevant Roboco card as far as gameplay goes, but I mean, come on. This is fantastic to look at the very least. Sheesh. And once you know it, we ended up pulling the first bloom Suisei. So along with Kiara, this first bloom is a total game changer. It really fixes the problem that Suisei had, which was consistency. On bloom, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal 1 Suisei from among them and add it to hand, then return the remaining cards to the bottom of the deck in any order. So this just helps you find your seconds. If you find another one of her, you can bloom again and do the whole search over again and just keep trying to find what you need. Really strong card that makes Suisei a really formidable force to deal with. That's pretty cool that we pulled both this and the Kiara in this box. I already have enough playsets, I think, but definitely doesn't hurt to have. Oh, interesting. We got another S. This is SSRB. This is a Botan fan card. You don't really see a lot of Botan in the game, and I don't really know if Botan even plays this card, but hey, 2 S's in one box. That's interesting. I wonder if we'll still see an SR, or if that means that this box is dead. And we pulled the base rare in this one too. That's funny. We also pulled the Roboco second, which is pretty nice. There's a really strong first bloom. If we get to it, we'll talk about it. But for colorless, 1 cheer, you get a 200 HP second that does 70 damage, hits green for plus 50. And if your opponent's H has 7 or more cheers, this arts gets plus 70. So potentially doing 140 for only 1 cheer. Really cool card. And it does see play in other decks like Sora and OCG, which is really nice. Futo Inu, still a relevant card in the current meta, and Ayakashi Vermilion. Korone gets a lot of new support that makes her super strong. You still want to run a couple copies of these because it gives you arts plus 10. Fingers also gives you arts plus 10, so you're potentially getting plus 20. And when you collab when this mascot is attached, you get a hOCG from your archive, and you can attach it to this holomem. This is actually an errata card. It's misprinted. It says from your archive to your holomem. It's supposed to be to this holomem. So there you go. This is when we start seeing errors on the cards. We didn't really have this problem with the first 2 expansions. Whoa, okay, we do get an SR. We've got the first Buzz Flare. Very nice. Reveal one yellow cheer from your cheer deck and send it to this Holomem and then shuffle the cheer deck. Really useful card. Recently put out a video about Eternal Snowman's deck profile that was Flare Marine with the Noel Oshi. You run a lot of these, so this is a really great card. 240 HP too, not bad at all. And that should be our last hit of this box. Oh, never mind, we got more hits. We got another OSR. This is a double OSR box, that's kind of crazy. We got the Toa OSR, very cool. Pretty decent Oshi as well. Solid deck, it's not like super strong in this format, but definitely saw some play in Elite Spark, and Toa can do some interesting stuff. That's so funny, double OSR, and we got 2 S's and an SR. What an interesting booster box that we have here. Oh, also, here's the first Bloom Roboco I was talking about. So you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal one Holomem with hashtag Gen0 from among them, and add it to hand. Then return the main cards to the bottom of the deck in any order. So much like the Suisei First Bloom, this just lets you search for more Holomem that you need, specifically hashtag Gen0. So Roboco has really great synergy with Sora and Ozki, and when paired with the second Bloom, it actually makes her an attacker as well. So not only do you get the great search off of the first, you have another option if you want to go into the second Bloom as an attacker. And again, you only need one colorless the whole time. So works with different decks, different Gen 0 decks, and gives them a lot more oomph. Ooh, we got a Totsumachi. This is one of those cards that I thought was going to be much bigger when it first came out, but still a great card. A lot more niche though. This card can only be used if your life is less than your opponent's, so that's already one significant restriction. It's also limited, so you can't play anything else that's limited if you do use this. If your opponent has no collab Holomem, your opponent moves one of their back Holomem to the collab position. Moving is not regarded as collab. So they have to have an open collab position, you need to have less life, and you need to have not played a limited. Also, your opponent gets to choose which Holomem goes to the collab position, so it's not as consistent as So That Makes You My Enemy. This does become relevant with decks that are able to do double knockouts pretty easily. It lets you set up for some game-winning scenarios. So it's definitely an interesting card. It's a cool card. You wouldn't run more than one of this in any deck, and even certain decks probably wouldn't want to run any copies of this at all, as it can be kind of a brick. And these are our pulls from our very interesting Elite Spark booster box. We got the 2 OSRs, which, you know, for me, I already have every OSR, so not great, but still kind of fun to see a double OSR in one box. We got the S Roboco and an S SSRB, and we got the SR First Buzz Flare, so not bad. I don't have this art already, so that's nice. Maybe Eternal Snowman will trade me something for this. We'll see, fingers crossed. But with that box, that puts us halfway through our 1 year of HoloLive official card game English edition. If you made it this far into the video, it'd be really cool if you hit that subscribe button. I'm really close to 1,000 subscribers, and I've got a lot of cool stuff planned for when we finally hit that number, but I can't show you until I'm there. So if you're not subscribed yet, I would really appreciate it. Also, if you've watched this far into the video, let me know in the comment section what your favorite flavor of ice cream is. We'll really confuse everyone who just skipped around or didn't watch the full thing. Thank you. Curious Universe, the 4th expansion in the HoloLive official card game. This released in English on February 20th, 2026, and it originally released in Japan on June 20th, 2025. I think Curious Universe is probably the most inconsequential expansion so far. It's not like a bad set, but the meta doesn't really dramatically change. Reine, Kiara, and Suisei are still extremely strong and just stay strong, and maybe even just get a little bit better with some of the cards that come out in this set. The only real game changer Holomem we get is Subaru. Subaru, when paired with Marine and then with the Korone Oshi, becomes one of the strongest decks in the format, but I would still say that the top 3 decks are still unchanged. Submarine just kind of comes in as like another competitor that is viable and is very strong. But that's really the only change up we see. Okay, it's time to rock in. Speaking of rock in, look at that. Perfect. Nice. The GG Marine spot card of her just A-posing. I love this card. I have the S rare of this already. It's great. First pack luck here. We've got the Koyori White Special Cheer. Very nice. I have this one already, but I traded it. Maybe I can trade it again, or maybe I'll just hold on to this one this time. But very nice. Always exciting to see something in the first pack. Very cool. Another pack where I got Bibu followed by Gigi. That's kind of crazy. Subaru Duck. This is a really strong card for Subaru, but it becomes stronger, I think, when Mono Subaru overall becomes stronger, because then you have more of a justification to run this. With the Marine engine, you don't really need Subaru Duck. I think you could run 1 or 2 copies. I think I tested running 1 or 2 copies in it. But it does work really well with the second Subaru, and if you're just playing Subaru, it's great because This mascot gives you plus 20 HP on your Subaru, and then if the total amount of cheers on both players' stage is 10 or more, the holomem this mascot is attached to gets arts plus 20. So Subaru is getting crazy damage output and HP increase, kind of similar to how Reine's mascot works, but much more balanced and has a lot more restrictions than Tatang, and also Reine has a card that lets you search for your Tatang from your deck, and Subaru can't search for Subaru Duck, so maybe not like Tatang at all, actually. Speaking of, there she is, the second Bloom Subaru. A fantastic holomem card, 190 HP, but with the Duck you can be at 210. Her Bloom effect is that you send one yellow cheer. You may send one yellow cheer from your archive to your holomem. And then for 3 cheer, 2 yellow, her attack is 100 base, hits white for plus 50 crit. This game really needed more white crit in the top decks. Those gosh darn Promise and Kanata decks. This arts gets plus 10 for each cheer on both players' stage. However, only up to 8 cheers are counted. So for 3 cheer, you could be pretty easily doing 180 damage, which is nuts. You pair that with Maureen, who gets the extra chip damage from her Bloom, and you can see why this deck becomes so strong. Kanata does get more support in this set. This was originally released as a start deck in Japan, and we just got those cards rolled into the expansion, which is kind of annoying. This is a trend that's going to continue into the next set as well. But during the time when Kanata was still heavily restricted, getting additional support is helpful. So it kind of made her playable again, especially in entry cup formats. So lucky Kanata players got to use her in entry cup since this was technically part of the expansion. We got alt arts in this set. There it is. Yay! Oh right, and Maureen gets another second Bloom. It's not as good as the other one, but it's still really strong and very useful to just have more seconds in your deck. Only needs 2 cheer to attack, which is less than the other second. And the Bloom effect lets you deal 10 special damage to your opponent's center and collab holomem. Not a bad card at all. Ooh, we got ourselves an alt art Notica, very nice. Of course, a staple card that was introduced in the beginning of the game. But you couldn't get Notica from the booster packs in Blooming Radiance, actually. You had to get the Sora and Ozki start decks. So I think this is the first expansion where you can actually pull Notica. Plus it's the swimsuit one, so it's just nice to have more of these. But yeah, isn't that crazy? You literally just had to keep buying the same start deck just to get the staples that you needed. I'm glad times have changed and that they've become more accessible to new players, but yeah, that was not awesome. The other alt art in this set is Manager-chan. Like Notica, Mane was not available in the actual Blooming Radiance booster packs. You needed to buy the start deck, and that is another staple card that people play to this day, and you just had to farm them from start decks. It was so annoying. I guess the set in a way is kind of a nice entry point because you can get Mikarones, Noticas, Mane-chans, some really valuable staple cards, and you get new art for them. And like I said, there it is, perfect timing. We got the alt art Manager-chan. And after our Mane-chan, we have our S card. This is a First Bloom Anya. Pretty nice. I don't have this one, so that's cool. Anya doesn't see a whole lot of play, but one of our local players, Nomad, actually did win an event with an Anya deck, so, you know, if you're an Anya fan, it was definitely doable in this format. Ooh, okay, here's our SR. We got a Kureiji Ollie. I don't remember if I have this one or not, but it is really beautiful artwork. Ollie, unfortunately, a holomem that doesn't see a whole lot of play. Her Oshi card is very good, but just as a holomem, she's not the strongest. I do like this art, and Ollie is awesome, so this is still a very cool pull in my opinion. Alright, that box wasn't anything super crazy. These are our pulls. We got the Special Cheer Koyori, we got the S First Bloom Anya, and we got the SR Second Ollie. Overall, I'm still pretty happy though, because like I said, I did trade the Koyori, so now I have it again, which is still technically not a dupe in my book. And I don't think I have this Ollie quite yet either, so it's been nice to get mostly new of the high rarity cards that I've been pulling. Very cool. Expansion number 5, Enchant Regalia. If you're new to this channel, I like Narissa Ravencroft, so I've been looking forward to this set ever since it was first announced in Japan. This expansion released in Japan on September 19th in 2025. In English, this was released on April 17th, 2026. So now we're really starting to catch up. We're almost at the current day of the game. This is the second most recent set. I went crazy trying to get all the high rarity Narissas for my high rarity Narissa deck. This set is definitely a game changer compared to the previous set, Curious Universe. We get the new Peko. The white Pekora cards are extremely strong. And then Suisei Okayu becomes hands down the #1 best deck in format. The additional Okayu support that comes in here is just ridiculous. It's kind of a toxic meta for that reason. I played Narissa for the entirety of it and I did not win a single tournament, but you know what? At least I have my morals. With all that said, let's go ahead and open this up. The other cool things about this set is that Enchant Regalia introduces the HR rarity for the first time, so those really fancy looking debut cards, those start getting printed in Enchant Regalia. And I also believe Enchant Regalia is the first set to start doing the really nice gold printing on the URs and OURs. So of course if we pull an HR, that will be awesome. If we pull any rare Narissas, I will be happy even though I have plenty of them now, but if we pull an OUR or something, that would be hilarious and epic, dare I say. Let's see what we get in here, but there's a lot of cool cards. This is an anniversary set. In Japan, this was the 1-year anniversary expansion, so even though for us, it wasn't exactly 1 year, it's a really great set and I think has a lot of value in here. Let her rip. Okay, another first pack hit, and it's a cheer. I just traded for this one, which is funny, but now I have two. It is a very nice purple cheer of Choco. It's so funny that in the last box, our first hit was also the first pack special cheer. So we're just keeping that trend going, I guess. Our first Narissa Ravencroft of the box. Let's go. This set introduces Friendly PC. This is a great card for me to pull, so I'm glad to have more of these from my box. I did allude to this card earlier in the video. This lets you reveal 1 to 2 debut Holomem with extra. So the extra rule where you may have any number of this Holomem in the deck. You place them on stage and then shuffle the deck. If you chose 2 debut Holomem to place on the stage, then you have to return 1 card from your hand to the bottom of the deck. It's also not a limited card, so it's better than dual monitor PC in every way. Almost every deck wants to run Friendly PC. Some run it at 4 if you run a lot of the extras. Maybe you only need 2 or 3. But either way, really great addition to the game. Gives you a lot more consistency in finding your debuts. If you open with this early game, especially turn 1, you're cooking. Something kind of interesting is that they reprint Troop Member. Polka gets her Oshi introduced in this set, and she gets some other support cards, and Polka becomes much stronger. So having access to Troop Members in this box without having to go back to Blooming Radiance is pretty nice. Narissa Ravencroft. If you're playing Narissa, you actually do want to run 4 copies of this because of its collab effect. If you went second and it's your first turn and your Oshi Holomem is Narissa Ravencroft, put the top card of your deck to the Holo Power. Her Oshi special skill requires 4 Holo Power, so you really need to open with this if you're going second because you want to get to that 4 Holo Power as soon as possible. The deck doesn't really become online without it, and what it does is it reduces the cost of all Narissa's arts by 1 colorless cheer. So for example, you could attack with this card for free because it has 1 colorless cheer cost. So a very important card. You're kind of just losing, though, if you don't open with this card if you're going second. It's extremely important. Ooh, Beef Bowl. This is a card that becomes really helpful for Korone and Ayakashi Vermilion. Choose one of your Holomem. During this turn, the chosen Holomem requires -2 colorless cheer for its baton pass. Restore 20 HP to the chosen Holomem. This works really well with Korone because her effect only works in the center position. So if you have one in the center position, you can baton pass it for free with Beef Bowl, put in a different Korone, get the center position effect again, and then collab with the Korone that you just baton passed, so that both Korone get the full ability of their effects. You can run 1 or 2 copies of this in Korone. It's a very strong card for that reason. Hey, there's our second Bloom Narissa, the DEO. The gift effect is when this Holomem downed your opponent's Holomem, draw 2 cards. She also hits blue for crit for +50. It's a 3 cheer cost arts, but with her special Oshi skill, it becomes only 2 cost. Base 120, but for each card you discard from your hand, one of your Holomem with #singing on the stage gets arts +20. So you can do 180 with this Narissa. You can give the boost to a different Narissa, because they all have #singing. Technically also works with cards like Toa, who's also a purple #singing Holomem. Unfortunately, Narissa doesn't really break into the upper echelon of decks. Okayu Suisei also is just so dominant that, like, besides her and Pekora and maybe Reine, not a lot of decks can super keep up with the top decks, but Narissa is definitely one of the better Oshis to get released in Enchant Regalia. DIY Miko, pretty interesting staple card that gets introduced in this set. It is limited. Draw 2 cards. So it's like a Mikorone or another card that we're going to see in this set, hopefully. I've been getting one every box, so we'll see if we find it. If not, I'll talk about it later. Draw 2 cards, and if your Holomem was down during your opponent's previous turn and your life is less than your opponent's life, send 1 cheer from Archive to one of your Holomem. So this is good for late game cheer acceleration. There are a lot of prerequisites. It's limited, your Holomem has to be down, and your life has to be less than your opponent's. So there is quite a lot there. Some decks can benefit from running 1 or 2 of these. Not every deck is going to want to run this. The because of those specific requirements, or decks that already have strong cheer acceleration, but this can help a lot of decks that really need that extra boost late game to keep getting their arts online. And wouldn't you know it, the other draw 2 card that is introduced in the set. This is an incredible card. I'm very happy I just pulled another one. This is fantastic. Soraz Celebration. You draw 2 cards. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Reveal one first holoman from among them and add it to hand, then return their main cards to the bottom of the deck in any order. This is incredible. Finding your first is super important in this game, and this just adds much more consistency and draw power to decks that need it. I don't feel nearly as bad when I whiff with this card, because at least I get information from seeing what the top 5 cards of my deck were that I just put at the bottom. So even though it feels bad to like put some seconds at the bottom of your deck, I still feel like Soraz is just the overall better card, and it's super useful. A lot of decks run 4 of these, and actually just the other day I was 1 short of a Soraz, so this is perfect. Thank you, Soraz. Ooh, we got an S debut Polka here. Narissa Ravencroft Staff, a really great tool card for her. Increases her arts plus 10, and if you use the DEO second bloom and you archive cards with her ability, you get to do 20 extra special damage to your opponent's center collab holoman. Pretty cool. Also, it says if attached to second or greater. Narissa Ravencroft. So let's hold out for that third bloom Narissa, I guess, or maybe second buzz Narissa. The future has so much potential. And in case we don't actually see the second bloom Okayu, this is also a strong first bloom Okayu that you see in the deck, but basically, if you really want to know more about it, just watch my tier list video for Enchant Regalia and you'll learn about the Okayu Suisei domination. But basically, you just spread a ton of special damage, like all the time. It's ridiculous. Ooh, we get reprints of Stone Axe in this set. We didn't find one in Blooming Radiance, but this card was introduced then. It's a really strong stable card, increases the arts of your holoman by 20, but when you attack, you take 10 damage. If it's attached to a first or greater Aki though, you also get to draw a card. Aki becomes a lot better in Enchant Regalia, she gets a lot more support. So that is another interesting change that comes along with this set. She's still not like amazing, but she goes from being extremely low tier to being like high tier. So it's a pretty huge jump for her. And if you're a fan of Aki, it's a blessing because she actually becomes playable. The one and only Narissa Ravencroft. Nikomet, this is a pretty cool card. One of the few dual color cards in the game. It's like that, Soraz, and Fuamoko. But we do get red Suisei support, which makes Suisei even more versatile of a deck. If she wasn't already good, she gets even better now that she has other Holomem color options. But in this format, you don't really see a lot of Suisei players, because if you're playing Suisei Oshi, you're just going to play Okayu, because it's the best deck. Aki Rosenthal's Axe, we were just talking about how she gets a lot of buffs. This card is one of them. Makes her much more consistent. But it's also an errata, so I'm not even going to read this card. You should just look it up online to see what it actually does, because they really butchered this one. Another fun fact is Enchant Regalia has the most errata cards to date in the entire game. I think this set has like 12 cards that are misprinted, so that's a fun fact for you as we go down memory lane. And there we go. There is our SR. We got the second bloom Fubuki. Very nice artwork here. Unfortunately, Fubuki still doesn't really see play in this format, but I do love the colors on this. Her outfit's really nice. This is really beautiful artwork. And I don't have this card yet already, so I'll take that as a win. That is pretty nice. Oh, and here we go. Here's the Okayu Bodyguard, where its gift effect when it's in the clap position. While you have a center holoman with #gamers, all the Okayu are #gamers. Your opponent's holomem's arts can only target your collab holomem, however, it excludes special damage. So it just protects your center second bloom Okayu. It's obnoxious. And that does it for our Enchant Regalia booster box. Not gonna lie, this one's a bit of a bummer. We didn't have any like crazy hits. We have an SR, a special cheer, and an S. Kind of underwhelming. We didn't see an HR. We didn't see any cool URs or OURs. Pretty standard box. Also not a meta-relevant SR. Oh well, I'm not too upset though, because I've already gotten pretty much all the cards I would want from Enchant Regalia anyways, but it would have been nice to get another big hit. There's a lot of really cool cards in this set, but whatever, it is what it is. And this brings us to present day. The latest and greatest expansion in the HoloLive official card game English edition, Ayakashi Vermilion. This is set 6, and it released in English on June 19th, 2026, just a few weeks ago, and it released in Japan on December 19th, 2025. So you can see that we're like slowly kind of catching up to Japan, but apparently that's gonna all change after this set anyway with the recent summer set announcements and the late release date for set 7, but whatever, here we are. We're gonna look at Ayakashi Vermilion and see if we get anything exciting. This expansion also, I feel like, is the start of power creep becoming more obvious. In the last set, Okayu Suisei was so dominant, and it basically becomes irrelevant. The top decks in this format are Korone, Ayame, and Aroha. All of them get new support. Ayame and Aroha specifically get new Oshi cards, and they just become incredible. And a lot of the decks that were relevant previously just don't really see that much play. So with this set, I feel like we kind of hit a turning point in how cards are printed for the meta, and in only a year's time for English, so we really rushed through these formats just to get to this kind of crazy level of power creep. Now, what I didn't mention when we were talking about Enchant Regalia, not only did it introduce new rarities, but it also introduced EN exclusive signed cards. In Enchant Regalia, we got the signed Narissa Ravencroft card, which of course I made sure to get. And then in this set, we have the signed Bay card, which is also an EN exclusive. So this is becoming a trend now with the latest sets in the English edition. The set also has an S rarity that's exclusive to the EN edition of a Raora card, not really Raora specific card, it's a support card with Raora on it, drawn by Raora, called Drawing Stream. So if we hit that, that would be really cool as well, but having two EN exclusives in this set is pretty interesting. Also in this set, the Flow Glow start decks that released in Japan got rolled into the expansion. So for example, Chihaya here was originally in the start deck, but just becomes part of the Ayakashi Vermilion expansion in EN. Here's one of the new Korone cards that becomes a staple in the main deck. Her collab effect is you may archive one Holoman with #gamers from your hand and draw a card. So this definitely helps get through your deck. She didn't really have any draw power support before, and this plus a couple other cards really help with that. And here we go. As far as the Flow Glow cards go, I think this is the first spot card that got released that has actually holo on it. Pretty nice foil treatment here. Also, it's a 170 HP spot card. So you can see how huge of a difference there is from Blooming Radiance, where spot cards were like 90 HP. They're really trying to make spot better. Giving them these tanky HP values makes it a little bit more worth it to run, since they can't bloom. You at least want something that's kind of a heavier body that'll stay on the board for a while, especially if they have collab effects. Like, why do you want a collab effect with a spot Holomem with only 90 HP and you can't bloom it afterwards? You can see the design philosophy around spot starting to change, and they're trying more things to make them more worthwhile. Still not really a huge change in how many people run spot cards, but this is definitely one of the better spot cards in the game at least. Oh, there's Drawing Stream, but it's not the S rarity. Fingers crossed we find it. Here we go. Here's the card that makes Korone in particular so strong. This and her new second bloom. Fingers. The Holoman this tool is attached to gets Arts +10. When this tool is attached from hand to Korone, you may return one Korone from your archive to hand. Only one tool can be attached. This is crazy. You get Arts boost, you get Holoman back from the archive like Retro PC does, and like the second bloom Marine does, all for just attaching a tool. Also, the second bloom Korone, you can put a Fingers at the bottom of your deck and it makes your arts cost less to cheer. That's the gift effect of the second bloom. So those two cards just make Korone absolutely insane. Vivi. Ooh, okay, here we go. A Purple Cheer Roboco. This set changed the art for the special cheer, so this is definitely a significant difference going into Ayakashi Vermilion from the previous sets. I personally think I prefer the old chibi artworks, but these are nice too. Still very cute and charming in their own way. But this is our first hit of the box, and an interesting look at how special cheers have changed over the last year. So weird today, like all of my boxes, I've been hitting the special cheers first. We also get some Buzz support in Ayakashi Vermilion, which is nice. We have Cute Stadium Jacket. If it's attached to Buzz Holomem, it gets plus 30 HP. And during your opponent's main phase, the HP of the Holomem this tool is attached to cannot be reduced or changed by your opponent's abilities. Really nice. You get some other Buzz support cards, but this is one of them, and it is a helpful addition to make them more viable. Ooh, okay, we hit an OSR. We got the Nico OSR. Very cool. I do like the artwork on these. It is rolled up from the start deck though, so that is unfortunate for us. And I do have this OSR already because like I said, I have one of each, but there we go. Bloom Stage is a great support card that gets added in this set. It's another draw 2 card, which is fantastic. Gives you more options other than Mikorone. It is limited. You draw 2 cards, and if your life is 4 or less, you may bloom one of your first Holomem that bloomed from debut Holomem this turn once more using a Holomem from your hand. This is really strong. It just gets you from a debut to a second, which is actually crazy. Plus you have the draw power, and decks like Marine where stacking is really important. Obviously Marine's on the art here for a reason. It makes it that much stronger. So this is a support card that really adds a new wrinkle to the game. Very important card and one that you'll want to look out for. Ooh, nice. I think I got this in my unboxing stream, but this is a great card. As I mentioned, IMA becomes one of the top decks in this format, and this is a very valuable SR to have, so I'm pretty happy about this. Even if I don't find a trade for it, it's nice to have it back. It's kind of funny, I've been getting a lot of cards back that I traded away. Not too shabby there. And yeah, this is a really cool one to get for sure. This is a great SR. Sipping Mayonnaise, an iconic card. Ooh, we got an S on the Rindo Chihaya. This is awesome. I'm trying to get more of these. I really like having the higher rarity Chihayas. I just like her a lot. Her design is amazing. This is cool. I'm happy to see that. Not a bad S at all. Probably my preferred one to get. So this is awesome. Okay, this is the very last pack of this whole video. I think we've gotten all of our hits, but maybe there'll be a surprise here, maybe not, but only one way to find out. Okay, nothing crazy in the last pack. Anticlimactic, I suppose. We do have a reprint of Lunite though. This, I think, released in Elite Spark and was also an errata, so now you can actually run it with the correct text. Isn't that nice? And these are our highlights from the Ayakashi Vermilion booster box. The last booster box of the video, our most up-to-date and most recent expansion, spanning over the last year of the HoloLive official card game English edition. The OSR is like not ideal because I've already got them, but the special cheer, the SR, and the S are all pretty solid pulls. Pretty happy with that. And here's one last look at all the pulls we got from our 6 booster boxes. One unique booster box from each expansion, starting from Blooming Radiance and ending at Ayakashi Vermilion. Funny enough, I think my best pull was my first pull. The OUR Pekko is pretty great. That's an awesome pull. But we got some other cool ones here. I am happy with some of the staples that we got as well. Not all of them are pictured here. We got some nice special cheers. We got some cool SRs. Unfortunately, no URs, but that's okay because we did get at least one OUR. And these are just random single booster boxes, so you're not like guaranteed a specific pull rate, obviously. All in all, I've been looking forward to doing this. I think this was a good time. If you had fun watching this, please give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comment section what your favorite expansion so far is in the HoloLive official card game. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. I love HoloLive and I love card games, and that's all I talk about in this channel. So if you're into that sort of thing, I don't think you will regret it. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers, so it would be awesome if you could help the cause. We're so close. I've got so many things that I'm working on for you guys in the background as we lead up to 1,000. So I'm just getting antsy and I want to show it off. I hope that we can get there soon. But thank you all for your support so far. The fact that we even got to over 900 subscribers in the first year of the channel is huge. I am so grateful, and I'm just looking forward to the future of this channel, the future of this game. This was a nice little trip down memory lane as we look ahead to future sets. So with all that said, thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Like, comment, and subscribe, please. Thank you. Hi, Cameron.